Good evening and welcome to Law Talk, the show that brings the Constitution, the law, and the events of today to you each month. Good evening and welcome to Law Talk. Tonight we're fortunate enough to have something you might have read about in the news. We actually have a visitor on the set tonight, and that would be somebody that, where did you come from and what is your name?
Glad to be here.
You're glad to be here, but do you know where you come from?
I'm from Iran. I mean Syria. I'm sorry. I always mix those up. Sorry.
Do you mix up Iran and Syria?
Always kidding around like that. Sorry.
Okay, I understand that you came through one of the resettlement camps that was located in Los Gatos. Is that correct?
Happy to be in Los Gatos. I like Los Gatos, yeah.
You're happy to be in Los Gatos?
Happy to be in Los Gatos.
Well, is the government providing you a background check to make sure that you are from Syria?
I brought some paperwork here. I've got an email from Hillary Clinton.
You have an email?
Yeah,
I see that email.
It must be important because it says top secret on it.
It says top secret. I understood this came out of Colorado. Is this the one that came from the bathroom in Colorado?
Those are all over the web. Anyone can see those.
Oh, did you buy this in Los Gatos for $50?
Yeah, you can get those. Yeah,
and they're all in the street corners,
all of
correct?
our stuff is everywhere.
Everywhere.
Well, the Nigerians got it.
Well, I have a question. Do you have a passport?
No, but I managed to get a birth certificate.
A birth certificate?
Yeah.
Was this created by Adobe? Acrobat?
I paid good money for that birth certificate.
Why did the letters look like they're in different fonts?
Well, you know, sometimes the sunlight in the boat on the way over.
Oh, the sunlight in the boat on the way over.
Yeah, the boat.
So you came from in a boat.
The
boat
raft.
from
the raft.
Which country did you come from?
Iran. I mean Syria. Sorry.
Iran, Syria.
I want to make it clear. I'm not a colonel in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. I'm a Syrian refugee. That's right.
How old are you?
It's on the. Isn't it on the birth certificate?
I can't read the birth certificate. It's in Arabic.
Oh well, that's. I'm pretty old. Yeah, I'm pretty old. Not that old though.
Okay, so you have a birth certificate, you have an email, and a birth certificate. So how did you find yourself in Los Gatos?
Happy to be here. They flew me first class.
They flew you first class.
Yeah. It's part of the Obama plan for Mideast refugees. Very happy.
Oh, for the Mideast refugees.
Very happy.
How many people did you come with?
I think we have another 200,000 coming this week. So.
Oh, to Los Gatos.
Yeah, to Los Gatos. Yeah.
Oh, well, I have a question. Do they have housing they're putting you in?
Well, they said that we should get a house. So I think we need about $2 million each for a house. I think, yeah.
Oh, I see. So wait a minute. Let me get. They said you need to have a house.
Yeah, they're going to give us a house.
So of course they moved you to the least expensive location in the Bay Area is Los Gatos.
Well, they said they weren't discriminating, so yeah, we should.
They weren't discriminating.
Yeah, so we should be able to come to Los Gatos. Yeah.
So you're trying to tell me that they wanted to put Syrians into Los Gatos because they felt there wasn't enough Syrians in Los Gatos.
Well, why shouldn't we get to live in Los Altos? Yeah, Los Gatos. You know, come on.
Wait, what about Los Altos Hills?
Los Altos Hills, we don't have a. There's not a hot spot there.
There's not one of the settlement
there's
locations.
168 hot spots. One of them's Los Gatos.
Did you come with your family?
I have a big family on the way.
Oh, big family on the way.
Yeah, like everyone, 200,000 come, and then each of us have, another 100 people. So there'll be millions and millions.
Millions. So what part of Syria are you from?
From Iran. Oh yeah, I mean Syria. Well, part of Syria. I'm from Syria. Yeah.
Where in Syria were you from?
Over there in Syria. Yeah. Sure.
Someplace in Syria.
Someplace in Syria.
Yeah. How did you leave Syria?
Well, it was all part of my Weight Watchers plan.
Your Weight Watchers plan? What kind of plan is that?
It's the Obama Weight Watchers plan.
And tell me about that.
You just have Putin eat your lunch for you.
And in that way, you don't put on any weight.
Yeah, don't put on any weight. Yeah.
Okay,
just have Putin eat your lunch.
Well, let's go back to this for a minute because I'm trying to. Why did you leave Syria?
Well, because I wanted to come here because this is the land of opportunity. I'm happy to be here.
You're happy to be here. And when you say the land of opportunity, what does that mean to you?
Well, it means that here finally we can do the caliphate.
The caliphate?
Yeah, we can finally have the caliphate here.
You're talking about the caliphate?
The caliphate, yes.
Okay, can you describe to me what a caliphate is?
Everyone's very happy to be the caliphate here. Yes.
Everyone's happy to be in the caliphate, but what
yeah.
is the caliphate? Is that another part of Los Gatos? Is that one of the suburbs that I don't know about?
It's going to be a suburb, yeah.
It's going to be a suburb.
Yeah.
Is this somewhere near Lexington Reservoir?
Yeah, I think we can go sailing on Lexington Reservoir.
And you can go out, you can sailing. Is that? Do you have your papyrus boats that you sail across?
We have our rafts. Yeah, we have,
you have your rafts.
Tubes. Yeah,
your
that's
rafts.
what we got here. Yeah.
Oh, so I have a question. When you came over, were most of the people that you came over with between the ages of 20 and 35?
Yeah, mostly men over 20, 35. Most of them had been in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. I mean,
I see.
Refugees from Syria. I'm sorry.
Okay,
sorry.
So this would be.
Just call me Ali. My name's Ali Shaker.
I did ask you that name. What is your name?
Ali Shaker, but my friends call me the Clockmaker.
The Clockmaker.
Yeah, Clockmaker.
Why do they call you the Clockmaker?
Oh, I make clocks, beautiful clocks.
Well, what kind of clocks do you make?
Oh, I got one right here. I'll show you.
Can you show us?
Yeah, we make some beautiful clocks. Yeah.
Are these clocks you're going to sell in Los Gatos?
Yeah, we'll use them on Los Gatos. Yeah, there's some. Yeah, we make beautiful clocks.
Well, these are interesting timepieces.
Yeah, they keep good time. Big batteries there.
And do you use a cell phone with this clock?
No, it just has a. You just set the.
You just set the clock.
You set the time.
You set the clock. So you're Ali the Clockmaker.
yeah, Ali the Clockmaker.
And these are the clocks that you're bringing with you from Syria.
Wow, we know how to make them. We can make them out of anything.
Oh, you can make them out of anything?
Anywhere, yeah.
Are you trying to tell me this is like a jogging thermos?
Yeah, that's. We're very happy to be here. So.
And you're very happy to be here, but you have everything you need to make a clock.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
So that's a land of opportunity. It's
so this is what a lot of Syrians know how to make these clocks.
Oh,
don't they?
I teach them. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of a group called the Quds Force?
What's that?
Quds Force?
The Quds Force. It sounds familiar.
Yeah, is that where a lot of your group comes from, the Quds Force?
Well, I'm just saying, I'm saying I'm not a colonel in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. I'm definitely not. I'm definitely a regular refugee.
Refugee.
I'm not a colonel in the.
What kind of refugee? What gives you refugee status?
The Weight Watcher program.
The Weight Watch program.
The Weight Watcher program.
Well, I have a question. If you have the Weight Watcher program and you have refugee status, are you going to be able to vote in the next election?
Oh yeah, we can get a license right away.
You get a driver license.
And Governor Brown just signed motor voter, so as soon as you get a license, we can vote.
That means all the people that come over that are brought in today, you're saying going to get a driver's license.
Well, everyone gets a driver's license. And then we get to vote. They can't say it's voter fraud because we didn't know when we got a driver's license.
He couldn't vote. Why would anyone know that?
Yeah, how would you know that?
So I have a question. So can you sell these clocks door to door?
We give those away.
You give those away?
Yeah, we give those away to special people.
Are there special people that get them delivered to them?
Yeah, we deliver specially.
Okay, so what you're saying is there's going to be 200,000 people, potentially men between the ages of 20 to 35, brought to Los Gatos to start a new caliphate, which is going to be a suburb of Los Gatos.
Right.
And then at that point, you're going to be clockmakers, and you're going to be integrated into the Bay Area. And funny enough, you'll be able to vote under the motor voter bill that Governor Brown just passed.
Yeah, we can vote on the motor voter. So
now, who do you believe you'd vote for?
Well, we're very happy to be here. So
you're very happy to be here.
We're here on
Are you going to vote for the people that brought you here?
We're here on the Obama plan, so we're voting for Obama.
Okay, okay. But, things like this, I mean, these are very luxurious. How much you charge for these?
Oh, like I said, we give those away to free to special people.
Free,
yeah.
okay.
We give away to free, yeah.
So let's go back to this. So what about all your cousins that went to Europe?
Well,
are they coming here too?
There was some problems because the Hungarians built a big fence. And then
the Hungarians built a fence.
Yeah, and then the European Union started putting up border patrols. And originally everyone thought we were going to be able to go to Germany. But now the Germans aren't taking hardly anybody.
Right.
And all the countries on the way are putting up fences and putting up border patrol. So we're very happy that President Obama said we all can come to the United States now.
Okay, so I got a question.
So
Is anybody in Los Gatos putting up fences?
Well, no, it's open arms. I mean, we expect to get $2 million houses. Of course, we're on food stamps. We get all the benefits, of course, And so we're very happy to be here. We're glad
Well,
to be
you know
here.
what, Ali, I'm going to shake your hand because I'm going to say welcome home.
Yeah.
The Bear is now your home, and I wanted to thank you for bringing your watch and clock making techniques to our country,
Oh, it'll
which
be-
I'm sure hundreds of thousands, if not millions, will bring on board.
Yeah, well, there's more on the way, believe me.
I believe you. I do believe you. So, as we move on tonight, and we move on from Ali, the visitor from Syria, who's coming by the millions, to get free Affordable Care Act, food stamps, we move on to our next subject. What is our next subject?
Okay, so the next, there's been a spate of police shootings and indictments of police and police being charged with murders with suspects in the last year. In fact, in 2015, just this part of 2015, there's been more indictments of police officers for shooting suspects than in the last decade. So the 12 officers is twice the average. So basically, police are being taken to task for shooting suspects recently in the last several months.
I am going to tell you there have been several instances where police have shot unarmed suspects. And I have a question, though. Is this related to any one incident that started this, or is this a general trend that you see in the police organizations and the various communities around the country?
Well, I mean, I myself, I've had a client that was badly beaten by the police because he didn't pull over right away because he had some drinks, right? And so the police had the lights on for a while, which the police don't like that, and he didn't have the blinker on, right? So, usually if the police put the red lights on and you're not going to stop right there, you should put a blinker on so at least they know you saw the lights and you tend to pull over. This guy went, about 3/4 of a mile, and he pulled over at his domicile, at his house, right? And he had some tacos, and they said, drop the tacos. He didn't drop the tacos because he didn't want to drop his box of tacos. And then they drug him out, and they kicked him pretty badly. They broke one of his ribs, and that punctured his liver, and he was in intensive care for 5 days.
Okay, let me ask this.
So, I mean,
did the police articulate that they felt the tacos were a weapon?
Yeah, they thought the tacos might have been a gun, but he wouldn't drop them. So he was
because he wouldn't drop the tacos,
Right.
he got put through a beating.
And then they beat him, and then they said, well, he was trying to keep from getting cuffed because he was curled in a ball. My argument was, well, you're curled in a ball if you're getting kicked by a couple cops.
Well, he was in the fetal position.
Right. So, there are situations where police overreact, and that's always been the case. On the other hand, police have to make split-second decisions, and, sometimes that's a split-second decision involving lethal force. And so one of the most famous one was Ferguson, of course, where the one witness says that the suspect had his hands up.
Right, and this is the instance where in fact there had been an all points bulletin for somebody meeting the general appearance of the
For a
person, the
strong-arm
patrol
robbery.
car pulled over, and yeah, we all know that one, and that unfortunately was a shooting of a person that did attack the police officer. But that's not what's really creating the problem now. What I'm seeing is a lot of police officers that are overreacting, and the worst part is they're shooting people that are unarmed. And they're shooting them in instances where they should not have been shot.
Well,
that's where the prosecutions are going up.
Well, like I said, the Ferguson was one that was very famous. I think the witness who said, that the suspect has his hands up never testified. Now, what's the reason he didn't testify? We don't know, but that never went into the record, and that police officer was exonerated. Then you have about a year ago in November, you had a Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old, and killed by a police officer. And I guess
is that the young child that had the pellet gun?
Yeah, I think it was the pellet gun.
But it looked like a .45 automatic.
But the orange
yeah.
part was painted over.
And so it wasn't even, you couldn't identify it as a pellet gun. And
what kind of makes me wonder, what if you had a regular gun and you painted orange and then
yeah, I know that was, and I do know the officer was taken in for the shooting, But that one, once again, is more justifiable if there's a weapon present. The crimes that I'm talking about that police are really being prosecuted for, we have the person that was thrown into the police van and then given the ride, the one that was in Jefferson, Missouri, I believe, where there was 6 police officers involved with that one, where the young man in the back actually had his neck broken under some kind of conditions where they gave him a ride, and there's 6 police being prosecuted for that one.
There was some testimony on that. I don't know if it was from another suspect that he'd been throwing himself against the wall of the van. I don't know what happened to that testimony. I don't know what the results are.
I think he changed that testimony.
Yeah.
As soon as he found out, he might have said that in the beginning, but what happens oftentimes is people don't want to be the subject of repercussions of giving testimony that may be correct or incorrect. But the idea of police shootings is something that's it's actually changed a lot of police behavior in this country. And I understand now even Rahm Emanuel in Chicago is saying that crime is way up because the police are refusing to do their jobs. And he's blaming the police for being afraid of being prosecuted for the wrong type of actions as they do their duties. So what do you know about that?
Well, I think there was 60 murders last month in Chicago. And, when people talk about, gun control and stuff, Chicago has one of the most strictest gun control anywhere. And it has the most shooting.
And it has the most murders every weekend.
Well, shooting murders, So it's kind of interesting. The stricter your gun laws are, well, like they say, when guns are outlawed, the outlaws have the guns.
Only outlaws will have guns.
So Chicago has the strictest gun control. They have the most murders, with exception, I think, I don't know about per capita, but I think down or along the border, there's some towns that have very high murder rates.
Well, if you go across border, Juarez for a couple of years had the most murders.
Yeah, so I mean, I lost a bet on that once because I thought it was Chicago. But Chicago is the murder, has more murders per capita than anything, and they've got the strongest anti-gun laws. And what it is the police are kind of pulling back, and the police union says,
they're afraid.
They say, well, I don't want to get indicted, and and they're in a tricky situation anyway. So I don't think it's they're not doing their job, but they're maybe not as gung-ho as they used to be before they started getting indicted all the time.
So then what are we going to talk about here? How can do you predict there? I'm not clear how this can reverse itself, because if police are being prosecuted we talked about, an instance, something happens. How is an officer supposed to be able to react properly when there looks to be violence right in front of them at that moment? They do only have a split second to make a decision. How are they supposed to come back from the fear of being prosecuted?
Well, I just say it was like in this Tamara Rice case, an FBI special agent and a prosecutor from Denver both did probes into that, did a report. And they said, that was reasonable. What he did there was reasonable. He thought it was a gun. He shot her. The lawyer for the Rice family, of course, said that these experts are calculated to bias the case and bias the grand jury, and that it's suspicious that they're even involved. We also had Officer Daniel Willis accused of murder of the Yvette Smith. And in that case, the police were responding to some kind of altercation fight.
Yeah.
And they showed up, and the officer had an AR-15 and thought that Smith was armed.
Okay, I think we're going to have to hold off on that, because I know we have a long list of these, and we're actually doing our research right now, trying to determine which are being prosecuted, which are not being prosecuted, and trying to do a little statistical analysis for our Law Talk audience so they can see that. So what's our final subject for tonight?
Okay, so this is kind of an interesting constitutional issue. The Republicans and the House of Representatives, they're the majority there. There's a caucus there, the Freedom Caucus, and they're unhappy because they feel that the leadership under Boehner didn't let them have say in amendments and that kind of thing.
Yeah, you know that Boehner has been under a lot of pressure now for several years for having a Republican majority, but then actually not getting anything done. And the problem with that is that he's been accused of going along with the lobbyists and going along with the Democrats and going along with the president. But in reality, what he's having is dissension within the Republican Party on what should be actually getting done. And the Republican majority that was elected into the legislature was supposed to be to help, control the Affordable Care Act, help to stop the illegal immigration, help to put us back in the world stage so we aren't losing our position in the world as we have been for the last 6 years. We have Putin out of control in the Middle East, Ukraine, Crimea. We have the Chinese building islands off Japan. We have the Chinese threatening to invade Taiwan. But what is Boehner doing?
Well,
Boehner's not doing anything.
Well, I think what some of the main constitution issues is the House has the power of the purse. And anything that's spent is supposed to be initiated from the House, which is kind of interesting because, like, the Affordable Care Act was initiated in the Senate.
Yeah,
so
but see, they could have cut off the funding for that, but they never have.
And so they have that's really the only power they have is the power of the purse.
Which, and by the way, that was constitutionally established so that they would have the power of the purse.
And they haven't used that. And in the cases, I think, where the Freedom Caucus is very upset they didn't use that, were in situations like Obama made a treaty without making a treaty with Iran. And so, they're saying, well, why should taxpayers pay for something that's unconstitutional? It's a criminal action, right? There's no way that a president can make a treaty without going through the Senate.
All treaties are supposed to be passed by a majority of both the House and the Senate.
And
this is the law. This is the Constitution.
So the Freedom Caucus goes, well, why are taxpayers paying for an illegal action? So I think particularly in the case where Obama's done, you can consider it imperial, you can consider it gangster, whatever you consider it. But whatever, it's strictly unconstitutional and illegal. Why should taxpayers have to fund that? And there's no reason the Congress can't say, we won't give you a penny for that.
Well, then that brings up the question, why, if the people of this country elected, were trying to control spending, control the deficit, which is now up to almost 20 trillion, how is it that there has been no action by the Republican Party? Is it this simple 40 vote group that's been holding them back? Or is there other things that are going on?
Well, I think so far, depending how you look at it, but the Republican leadership was rolling over. They didn't want any trouble. They didn't want to be accused of causing a shutdown or...
Oh, well, the government shut down.
Yeah, because let's say that, well, I think it really comes down, and I think we've approached this many times, but the real issue is what they call an omnibus or criminobus, right? I think in the federal they call it a criminobus, which I guess is a bus of criminals or something like that. But what it comes down to is instead of voting, okay, here's how much is going for defense, and here's how much is going for welfare, and here's how much is going for health care, it's one huge bill where everything's included.
Yeah, well, what they're doing, just to add to that, they're calling them continuing resolutions,
right,
where instead of voting line item veto and they just vote for one big chunk of cash,
right,
and it gets thrown like into the general fund. And what happens is it gets piecemealed out depending on which lobby has the highest control.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that is, and like say Rand Paul, he said, well, I wouldn't vote for an omnibus bill even if it gave everything I wanted because, Congress should have to vote on specific pieces of legislation that fund specific things. And always the excuse is like, oh, okay, so you've got a year to make the budget. Well, I guess the Democrats didn't make a budget for 6 years, but you have a year to make it, and the Republicans...
Under the Democrats, they never passed a budget.
They never do.
They never had a budget.
They never did, but the Republicans did a budget every year.
But that was Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi.
No, but the point I'm saying is you have a year to make the budgets, but like 2 days before the budget runs out, we got to do it.
Oh my God, now we got to do it today. Continuing resolution.
Which is ridiculous because they just goofed off for a year. So really, there's no reason they can't do line item budgets. And there's no reason that you can't say, yeah, we're going to fund Social Security, we're going to fund Medicare, we're going to fund the Defense Department, we're going to fund the FBI, but we're not going to fund, for example, a treaty with Iran. And there's no reason they have the power to do that. They just didn't do it because they're afraid that the Democrats would shut down the government and say, we're going to hold our butts between boo, and you'll take the blame for it. Well, and I think the Republicans are going, well, no, that's not how this Constitution is designed. It's designed, we have the power of the purse. We can withhold money, and that's our job.
Yeah, but see, what's interesting is that if you remember under Harry Reid, he was going to get away with the 60-vote filibuster, and the nuclear option, if you remember correctly, and it's funny enough, under the Republican control, they haven't said we're going to use the nuclear option, which in fact would make it easy to pass bills because then you would need only a simple majority in the Senate and a simple majority in the House. And now if the president decides to veto the bill, no, guess what? The nuclear option. No, we don't have to have a 60 vote.
But that's not even the issue.
Yeah, but that's what they can use on the budget.
I think that they wanted to keep the filibuster in because they felt it was a good tradition. No, I think that
we know that,
but it's been along for a long time. But I mean, the power of the purse. There's no reason they can't fund. I mean, they were voted the power of the purse, and they do not have to pay for something they feel is unconstitutional.
Okay, well, one of the things we're getting to tonight is who's going to lead the House now that Mr. John Boehner is left.
So what happened is McCarthy quit because, I don't know, it was the allegations of an affair, could have been true or whatever, untrue, whatever. He said something about Hillary's email. He
said that it was a witch hunt trying to get her, and of course,
so that gave a lot of ammunition.
That was a big no-no to tell the truth.
That was kind of like, who's the big guy who hugged Obama the week before the election?
Yeah, Christie.
Yeah, Christie.
He hugged right before the presidential election.
It's kind of like one of those election destroyers.
Yeah, somehow that was after the hurricane.
And so what happens is McCarthy needed 10 or 15 votes from the 40 vote Freedom Caucus, and they didn't want to give it to him, right? And he didn't want to be embarrassed.
But McCarthy was known as a rhino.
Yeah, well, I think that most of the Republicans in the House are rhinos. There's very few that aren't. But the point I'm saying here is that November 5th is the debt limit. And so what happens is every year they say, oh, we forgot about the debt limit to November 4th. So
oh my
gosh, we're going to run out tomorrow.
We forget.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I forgot from last year.
And then December 11th, there's a budget deadline, and they forgot about that.
Oh, my God, the budget deadline. Oh, my God.
And so
that's coming up next week.
And, you can say, no, we're not going to borrow any more money. I mean, if you control the purse, you can say, we're not going to borrow more money. You have to redo your budget and just live within your means.
I mean, I got a question. Do you realize there's a lot of proposals where you just take off, instead of doing cost of living increases for everything, you just say every budget we spend 1 penny less than we spent the year before. That would balance the budget. But nobody even wants to think about that. There's no balance coming.
Well, the thing is, because what they're saying, anything that's not a 4 or 5% increase is considered a cut.
Hey!
And so basically, because it's not their money. I mean, they've got guns. They extort the money from the poor taxpayer. So, of course, they want to spend more and more because that's what they do. And a government department loses money if they don't spend it by the end of the year.
Right.
So they're trained not only, and also unless they overspend, then they don't get their increase. So it's the opposite of private enterprise, So, but what it is basically what you're doing is you're shifting money from the private sector to the government sector. And the government sector, I mean, they call basically, mugging someone, going through their wallet, and buying a bunch of crack. They call that an investment.